welcome to The Path TV. We're Phillip and Laura Baker, the happiest evangelists you know. We love what we do, and we love that you've stopped by and going to spend a little time with us today as we talk about marriage. And we want you to have a great marriage. But a great marriage, it's not a destination. It's a journey, it's a path, and you're not like one and done. It's going to be something you're going to have to be intentional about every day, every week, every month, every year that goes by. And you got to stay on that path. Got to stay on that path. And so that's what the show is all about. Every episode, we want to get a little further along the path. And maybe if you're out there and maybe your marriage is stuck on the side of the road, it's running on fumes, right. You've gotten off the path, you're on some dirt road, driving through some scary woods. Maybe we can get you turned around. Maybe we can get you back on the path. Maybe we can give you some tools that you to understand your husband, understand your wife, and so that you can, work together to really have a great marriage. And so we're right in the middle. We just started a series, and it's on the blockages, the obstacles of communication. And our words are so important. Communication is so important. Death and life are in the power of our words. Yes. And if you look at your marriage and you think about all the activities you do, and you kind of do a pie, the thing that you're going to do most often is talk, communication. Now you can be like those couples you see in restaurants, that are sitting there eating, or these days, they got their phone out and nobody's talking. We see a lot of that, but the point of going out to eat is to sit there and have a conversation. Right. You're traveling down the road, let's have a conversation. You go on vacation, and you're sitting on the beach, let's have some communication. It don't mean you got to talk all the time, but my goodness, that's what makes up the majority of marriage. It's not the kissing. It's not the hugging. Come on, it's not sex. Praise God for all that. Those are gifts that God gave us. But that doesn't make up marriage the way communication makes up marriage. And so it's so important that we have healthy communication, that we enjoy talking to one another. And boy, there are some obstacles.
Absolutely. And, I think we're such a microwave generation and society that we want to get everything out there and then we're done. Yeah. I'm going to, the first year of marriage, we're going to discuss everything we need to discuss. We're going to fix everything we need to fix, and it'll be smooth sailing from there. Well, the problem is people change. Situations change. Seasons in your life change. When you were married, you had no children. Now you have children. Or when you got married, you had his children and your children. And there is all of these extra things. And so communication constantly.
Yeah, new things to talk about.
Yes, there is.
Yeah.
We wondered sometimes, like he said, we've gone into restaurants and you see an older couple. They've been there for an hour. Mm-hmm. And they've eaten. I didn't see a word spoke in between them. And I thought, we've talked about it.
Yeah, we don't want to be that couple.
We don't. I mean, does that mean they ran out of things to say? Listen, I'm never going to quit asking questions and finding out who he is and what he likes. And he, after 34 years, he still surprises me. He still does stuff that I think, why did I not know that? How did I not know that? And that's amazing. If God is like that and we were made in His image, how much more are we?
Absolutely. So we're talking about the obstacles of communication. So the dynamic today is a great marriage. It's going to have to overcome many obstacles to have healthy communication. You're going to have to overcome some obstacles. In our last episode, we talked about different priorities. Mm-hmm. We talked about pride. Mm-hmm. And we talked about personality differences. Mm-hmm. And so let's hit another 3 today. Let's hit another 3. And so let's get one out of the way, and then we'll take a quick break. The first one, and once again, I said it last episode, I'm going to say it again. These aren't in order of importance. They're all number one. They're all 1A, so right. You put them in the order that you want to. The first one we want to talk about today is, just the ugly phenomenon that we've all had to deal with in life, that we all will have to deal with in life, and that's unforgiveness. bitterness. That can be a real obstacle to communication, because if you have unforgiveness in your heart towards your husband or towards your heart towards your wife, then what that's going to lead to is you're not going to really want to talk to them or communicate with them, because you're punishing. There's that word, punish. I'm mad at you. You hurt my feelings. You did something that was wrong. You betrayed me. And so I'm mad at you, and I'm not going to talk to you because I'm punishing you. And if I do talk to you, it's going to be shallow. It's going to be, hey.
It's going to be through the filter of bitterness.
What you doing? Nothing. What do you want to eat? I don't know. Where do you want to go? Nowhere. It's going to be shallow. It's going to be light. You're not going to want to get into anything deep. You're not going to want to have a sincere conversation. Why? Because you're mad.
You're hurt.
You're hurt.
Right.
And that unforgiveness is a obstacle to a healthy communication.
When you have unforgiveness, you just build up walls around, and you don't want to let anybody in. It's hurt. They've done something to you, and they've hurt you.
And hurt people hurt people.
That's right. And they don't. And so when you're hurt and when you have that unforgiveness, you don't have that intimacy. And then everything they do is you see it through the filter of you being hurt. If they want to have sex, I'm mad at you. Why are you?
What?
What?
You hurt my feelings and you're wanting to have sex. Man, get out of here.
You've got all those different things. Anything that they do, you see it through that filter of unforgiveness. You see it through that filter, and everything that they have, every motive they have, gets skewed.
Yeah, but Brother Phillip, Miss Laura, wait a minute. You don't know what they did to me.
Right.
Okay, you don't know. If you knew what my wife did, if you knew what my husband did, you would understand. Well, what about what you did? What about what you've done? What about what the Pharisees and the Sadducees did to Jesus Christ? Come on, the people that should have loved him the most, wanted to kill him. They're sitting there looking at him while he's hanging on the cross. And what were some of the last words that Jesus said? He said, "Father, forgive them, for they know not what they do." And so, we're all sitting here, we're watching this episode, and we all understand the incredible forgiveness that we're going to need from the Father because of all the mistakes that we've made in life. We're going to need that grace. We're going to need that love, that forgiveness. Well, at the same time, you better be willing to show that grace, show that love, and show that forgiveness. Amen? And so, we all have the ability to forgive. The love of God has been shed abroad in your heart by the Holy Ghost. You have it within you to forgive.
And sometimes you've got to look, and if you find yourself dealing with this, sometimes it's forgiving other people, not just your spouse. What about a previous relationship?
Right.
And you're carrying
Forgive
that
yourself.
Unforgiveness. Yeah, that's next. And carrying that unforgiveness from what someone else did to you into your marriage. Or what about if you just don't forgive yourself? You know yourself better than anybody.
Right.
You know the mistakes you've made. You know the things that you've done wrong, and you're having trouble forgiving yourself. Forgiveness is just such bitterness. It doesn't matter whether it's towards someone or toward yourself. Holding that in, it causes issues.
Yeah. And there's some episodes of the Path TV that are just solely on forgiveness because it's so big. Hey, we want to take a second. There's an incredible book you need to get a hold of. It's called The Build. Leadership builds God's churches, ministries in your life. And I believe with all my heart, God's called us all to build. You say, build what? Build the kingdom. Brother Phillip, I'm not a preacher. I ain't got nothing to do with you being a preacher. We're all called to build the kingdom. We're all called to move the kingdom forward. And I'm telling you, at the end of your life, you're going to want to know you mattered. You're going to want to know you made a difference. You're going to want to know you moved the kingdom forward a little bit. And this book will help you get there and understand that. And so it's at our website, philipbaker.org. And so check this out, and we'll be back in about 60 seconds. back. Again, welcome to The Path TV. We're Phillip and Laura Baker, if you're just tuning in. And that book, The Build, there are so many churches that have got that for their leadership. People that have gotten a hold of that book and really got a clear understanding of God's call on their life and their kingdom assignment. And it'll really be a blessing to you. You can also get that book on Amazon Prime. You can get it on our website, along with The Move from the Shallows into the Deep. And so, reach out and get that book. And then while you're at our website, check things out. Check out our itinerary. Maybe we're coming to a church near you. There's a lot of media there. And there's just a lot of good stuff. And then also, we always want to remind you, if you're watching The Path TV and you're like, man, I'd like to watch more episodes. How can I do that? We got you. It's called YouTube. I think you're familiar with it. We've got the PBM channel, and just go to YouTube and search PBM Phillip space Baker, and you'll find our channel and all the episodes going all the way back to episode 1 debut. They're all there waiting on you. And then what you do is subscribe to the channel, hit that bell, and then every time another episode drops, you'll get a notification on your phone or your iPad or your computer, and you can watch them. Man, this is a great show for churches to use as a small group, a marriage small group, and it'll really be a blessing. And the thing you say, brother, why did y'all do The Path TV? Well, we've been doing marriage seminars for years. And the Path Marriage Seminar throughout churches in different nations. But I'll be honest with you, if we've been in full-time ministry now over 30 years, there's just not a lot of ministry out there for marriage and family.
Right.
There's not a lot on the networks. There's not a lot of people preaching about it. There's not a lot of seminars. There's just not a lot of stuff out there on that subject. And for the life of me, I can't figure out why. Because it's just so important. And so it's something we're passionate about, but at the same time, there's such a great need in the body of Christ. And so we really hope you're enjoying The Path TV. Subscribe to our YouTube channel and catch up on all these episodes. And remember, it's not a destination, it's a path, it's a journey. So, hey, we're talking about the obstacles to great communication. And if you're going to have a great marriage, you better get communication right. Better get communication right. You better be able to sit down and talk to one another in a peaceful, productive, fruitful, non-threatening, non-attacking, not stubborn, not defensive way.
Not agenda-laden.
Agenda-laden.
Yeah.
You better be able to sit down and have a conversation. Because there's always going to be new things to talk about in marriage, whether it's finances, whether it's kids, whether it's vision, whether it's kingdom. There's always something new to talk about, and you got to have the skills to be able to do that if you're going to maintain a great marriage. And so we're talking about obstacles, and the first obstacle was that nasty, unforgiveness, bitterness, holding grudges. Man, that's going to get in the way of some great communication. And so our second obstacle we want to talk about is hit them with it, baby.
It's rejection. Rejection is a spirit. It's a spirit of rejection, actually. And, if you grew up and you have been rejected a lot in life, and you have been rejected by relationships, and every time you went to talk to someone, you felt that rejection. You felt that, you were never good enough. You felt like you were always on trial. Always, you were having to explain yourself. Well, what happens when you deal with that, you shut down and you just back off and you don't communicate. And when you don't communicate, you're not being heard, you're not getting your needs met. None of that is happening. But it comes from a spirit of rejection, which is really hurt. And so, husbands, if you have a wife, or even wives, if you have a husband, that every time you get into one of those needed, important, hard conversations, they just completely shut down. Yeah. You see the wall go up. You just see it. You just see a complete shutdown. Their face changes. Their countenance changes. They move back. They just they remove
Fold
themselves.
Those arms.
They remove themselves. Rejection usually it'll do that, but rejection will also, they'll put their head down.
There's body language to it.
It's body language. They'll put their head down. It's because they've never felt that unconditional love. That you're in a safe place, you can tell me something and I'm not going to put you on trial. You can tell me how you're feeling and I'm not going to make you feel bad about it. I'm not going to reject your feelings. I'm not going to say that what you're feeling and what you're going through isn't valid. It's that validation.
Right.
It's the person who says, nothing I've ever done has been good enough. I always feel like I'm having to strive to do things to get your unconditional love. Well, you know, in marriage, I know that it's not always unconditional. I know that there are times that you go through things, but you know, your goal is that you make a safe place for your spouse.
Right.
That you give them unconditional love, that you know that they do have a past, and that you understand that, and you help them get to a place where they feel safe to talk to you. You know, that spirit of rejection says you're not safe to open up. You're not safe to share, because if you do, they're going to make you feel bad.
Yeah.
They're going to reject anything that you feel or anything that you say. And so it's real important that you give each other that space, and if you feel your spouse has that, it's going to take your reassuring. It's going to take that unconditional love.
Right.
You know, we talked in the previous ones about how strong your words are. You know, when it comes to that spirit of rejection, you really have to be careful what you say to that person, because they're in a state of being hurt. And so your words mean a lot, they're a lot heavier with that particular one. They're a lot heavier. And so when you say things that are negative and you just talk down to them, and how you're trying to be, whatever you're dealing with, you're trying to preserve yourself, and then you attack that person, and you don't give them unconditional love, and you question them. Everything they do, you question them, and you see that shutdown, then you have to realize that your words are not making things better.
Yeah.
Your words are actually making things worse. Be very careful what comes out of your mouth.
Absolutely. So let's look at it from two different perspectives. If you're married to someone who's dealt with a lot of rejection, what Laura just said was, you're going to have to be sensitive, you're going to have to be patient, you're going to have to be kind, you're going to have to temper your words. You know, you're going to have to be gentle. You're going to have to consider timing. You know, you're going to have to have some wisdom, because they're dealing with rejection. But listen, if you're out there and you're the one dealing with rejection, and you know that's an issue in your life because of things that have happened, maybe rejection from parents or friends or an ex-boyfriend, girlfriend, ex-spouse, you know, children. I mean, just go on and on and on. You've dealt with some rejection. You don't have to live with that.
That's right. That's good.
You don't have to live with that. You don't have to just say, well, this is who I am, and you know, and this is just the way I'm. No. Listen, you have a wound. Okay, you have a wound. You got a wound, and it's bleeding, and it hurts, and it's painful, and you've been kind of tending that wound for a long time. You might have even turned that wound into a pet.
Oh, that's good.
And maybe you use it, you know, to protect yourself, you know, and somebody starts getting on you, and it's like, you don't know what I've been through, and hey, look at my wound.
Right.
You know, and you use it. Well, you don't have to live that way. Listen, through the love and healing of Jesus Christ, one touch, He can turn that wound into a scar.
That's right.
You don't have to live under rejection your whole life. God can heal you.
Yeah.
Jesus came, and you know, He took those stripes on His back. He took that thorns on His head so that you could be healed. And there's people all over this world that have been rejected far more than you.
Right.
And by the way, ain't nobody in the history of the world was ever more rejected than Jesus. I mean, the entire world rejected Him. Come on, the Pharisees, the Sadducees, people that should have loved Him the most, rejected Him. There were people that rejected Him and called out for Barabbas, and they were people that He had healed. I mean, Peter denied Him 3 times. And so, you know, listen, if anybody understands rejection, it's Jesus Christ. But you know what? He overcame all that rejection so you could overcome all your rejection. One touch, He can heal you. He can turn your wound into a scar, and you don't have to live that way.
Absolutely. And you have to understand that you're walking around with that. And yes, your spouse needs to be gentle with you, but that's their responsibility to be gentle with you. Your responsibility is to get before the throne of God and get healed.
Bam.
Do your responsibility. That's your part, because it's not fair to ask them to continue to do stuff if you're not willing to.
Absolutely. So number one, we've got unforgiveness, bitterness. Hey, bitterness is drinking poison and hoping they die. Come on, that ain't going to work out too well for you. Right. We need to get rid of all that garbage. Number two is just overcoming rejection, and getting that out of the marriage, and getting that out so we can have some healthy communication and talk to one another in a loving way. And then the third obstacle is, there's what you say, and then there's how you say it.
Right.
There's what you say, and then there's how you say it. And the speak, come on, y'all can finish this phrase. Speak the truth in love. Speak the truth in love. And sometimes there are people, there can be a wife, there can be a husband, and let's just say it for what it is. They're bullies.
Yeah.
They're bullies. And they pride themselves on, I'm telling the truth,
It's just who I am.
It's just who I am. I'm blunt. I'm frank. I tell it like it is.
Yeah.
I'm telling you the truth. Well, whoop-de freaking do. There's what you say, and then there's how you say it.
Oh, but then there's one more.
Come on.
There's one more. It's how you think you say it.
Oh.
Because there are many times that you say, "Oh, I didn't say it like that." Oh my gosh! Have you ever said something to someone and they look at you like you're crazy?
I said that nice. I don't know what their problem is. I don't know why they're so mad.
Right.
Yeah.
Listen, if you really want to know how you said it, ask. You won't do that because you don't really want to know. You don't want to know that you were the bully. You want to just say, well, that's who I am. They're just sensitive.
Yeah.
It's just their issue. But let me tell you something. If you've got people that say all the time, your words hurt, you're being a bully. I mean, they're going to say it a lot of different ways. You just run over people.
Yeah, temper that with some grace.
Yeah. Okay,
yeah.
Well, then that's not their issue. That's your issue. You're being a bully. You're the one that is saying things, and you may not mean them that way, but it's probably anger in your heart that's coming out.
That's good.
It's true.
What you say and how you say it. In a marriage, there's going to be some uncomfortable conversations.
Yes.
Come on, let's run down the usual suspects. I mean, you're going to have conversations about money, that are going to be difficult. You're going to have conversations about sex that are going to be uncomfortable. You're going to have conversations about raising kids that are going to be uncomfortable. I mean, just on and on and on.
You're going to expose each other's flaws because you're living in such close proximity.
Yeah.
But, when we were talking about this, truth without, one of the things that just came to my mind as you were saying that is, the world that we live in is such a, we kind of thrive on sarcasm. Mm-hmm. And we use that. And do you understand that sarcasm, first of all, it's the least effective form of communication.
Yeah.
Well, I'm just a sarcastic person. Sarcasm's base is anger. And so if all you ever communicate with your spouse is in sarcastic ways, sarcastic tones, the base of that is anger. And that's your issue, not their issue.
Yeah, absolutely. So, let's just have some fun for a moment. So maybe you're out there, and maybe just for you, maybe you just, y'all are just having too much sex and we need to talk about it. People are out there laughing. Or you know what, maybe we're not having enough sex and we need to talk about it. All right? So a conversation needs to be had. How are you going to have that conversation? There's going to be truth in what the husband says. There's going to be truth in what the wife says. Yeah. But how are you going to approach that conversation? What's going to be your tone? Are you going to be gentle? Are you going to be kind? Are you going to be willing to listen just as much as you're willing to speak? Mm-hmm. What's going to be the volume?
Are you going to sandwich it?
What's going to be, what about the timing of that?
Oh, yeah.
Are you going to consider what's the best time to have this conversation? How are you going to begin this conversation? One of the things we've been laughing at, we laugh about, and we've done for a lot of years, we call it Oreo cookie.
Right.
You know, there's something uncomfortable you need to talk to somebody about, and so that's the cream in the cookie. And so what would you be wise to do? Put some cookies around that thing. You know, let's talk about something good. You know, let me bless you. Let me honor you.
Praise.
Let me praise you. I'm not talking about blowing smoke.
No.
I'm talking about being sincere
Yeah.
and beginning that conversation with something positive. And then, okay, now let's talk about the issue.
Right.
But let's talk about it in a calm, gentle. How about this? Before you bring it up, why don't you go pray a little bit? You know, once you get before the presence of God and, you know, go take you a drive and say, all right, God, we need to have a conversation about this. Can you touch my heart? Can you touch my mouth? Can you fill me with the wisdom and the love that I need to have this conversation? And then how are you going to end it? Let's go back to that cookie. And let's end it with encouragement. Let's end it with love. You know, when you speak the truth without love, that's going to be an obstacle to healthy communication. And once again, I said this in the last episode, the issue, whatever the issue is, money, sex, kids, house, whatever. Let's say the issue is a 3. Let's say it's a 2. It's not that really big of a deal. You know, in your heart, it's a 2. But because you didn't speak the truth in love, because you were sarcastic about it, because you were snide about it, because you were grumpy about it, come on, because you were frank and blunt and crude about it, you just turned that 2 into a 6.
Yeah.
And so what began as a 2 was not good. Hey, this was good. I hope you enjoyed this episode. Hey, God bless you. We're going to keep talking about the obstacles of communication. God bless you.